Hello guys and welcome to video 3. So this is part 3 of my Dust Warfare rulebook review, and this part is going to be all about the battle scenario generator, so chapter 4 in our Dust Warfare rulebook, the battle section, and chapter 5, which is the army building rules for Dust Warfare. So the first thing I want to talk about is the actual battles. So Dust Warfare has got quite a nice system that you can use. It's optional, you don't have to, and that's called the battle scenario generator. So once you've chosen your forces, you use the battle builder. Okay. And what this means is players bid to control what game they want to play. Okay, so this is just a way to simulate how much of a general or how good a general the player actually is. So the player gets to pick the ground, what conditions favour his army, and how to hinder his enemy. Okay. So players have got 2 points to bid in one of 3 sections. You've got deployment, mission, or conditions. So deployment covers things like the actual deployment type, of which there are 4. Okay. So so there's 4 different types of deployment which are covered in the rulebook. You've also got the mission option. So the mission is the win condition, so what you need to do in the game to win. There's 4. There's a breakthrough, which is getting into the enemy deployment zone, kill the enemy, which is wiping your enemy out, control a strategic location, which is controlling an objective or something like that, or assassinate an enemy, which is killing a character or a hero, something like that. Finally, you've got conditions of the actual match. So something you can bid for is the way the battlefield is set up and situations which can affect both armies. So for example, 0 points mean you're fighting in the mist, which makes the maximum range of your weapons 18 inches. So similar to night fighting in 40k, but it's across the board. You don't roll to see how far you can see. 3 points means that both sides get fortifications to place on the battlefield, so that can really add a different spin on the way the game works. Okay. In friendly play you can just pick the scenario though, so but the way you bid for it could be quite fun. If that's the way you want to play it, go for it. There was something very similar to this in Starship Troopers, and this is another one of those things that I think has transferred over quite well. Okay, so yeah, cool. I'm going to move on to the army building because I've had enough of this, I think. Because I've seen a lot of this sort of thing before, but there we go. So we've got a few campaign scenarios in here as well, which is quite nice. It shows you just how to go about doing it. As I said in the previous videos, production values are just stunning. Right, so chapter 5, and I think a couple of chapters after actually. So chapter 5 is about the Allies and building an allied army. Chapter 6, I guess, is about building an Axis army. So, yeah, cool. Okay, so the rules for building an army seem to have been carefully thought out to avoid the silly situation of an all-tank army up against a poor infantry army. That's what it says here. So basically it looks quite restrictive before you start off, but the thing is it encourages military thinking. So you pick which command section you want, so who you want as a commander, and then you put in a few infantry sections, and then you add support tanks, and putting those together will build a platoon. So you're thinking on a military level there. Okay. Every unit has a points value, so a points value, an army points value, AP, and a unit type. So this is a hero. Okay. The chef is a hero. You can spend points freely, but certain platoons restrict what types you can have. So, for example, one of the Axis platoons. Here we go. So here's a Sturm Grenadier platoon. A command section, which is mandatory. You have to have a commando troop, or a hero allowed in the platoon to lead it. And then you must have a first section of one of those, and then you can have a second section. So say you wanted Axis guerrillas in this unit, you would have to have a command section, you'd have to have one of these 4, and then as your second section, Axis guerrillas. By having 2 sections, you can have 1 support unit. So for every support unit, no, for every 2 normal units you can have 1 support unit. Okay? So for small games, you're looking at about 150 points. That'll get you 1 platoon roughly, and 1 hero roughly. So that's for a really small starter game. That's the sort of thing you could probably use the Dust Tactics revised core box set to play through, which is what I'm going to be doing for my first few games. Okay, standard games are around 200 to 300, maybe 400 points, and that's around 2 platoons and 2 heroes. Okay, games can scale up from there, so you can have them any size you want, but there's always going to be this limitation. So there's 3 types of platoons for each army. There's all-rounder platoons, heavy weapons platoons, assault platoons. Okay, depending on which one you pick, you get a special order that you can make. This further helps the army that you create. For example, allied all-rounder platoons can call in artillery strikes, whereas assault platoons can automatically rally retreating troops. Allies have different platoon orders to Axis, but the basic platoon structure is the same according to this. In addition, for even more customization, each power has upgrade points they can. Each platoon has upgrade points they can. No, each power, as in Axis or Allies, has upgrade points that they can spend on a platoon to grant it a special ability. So you can give wire cutters for barbed wire or reload magazines, something like that. But you pay for these out of your points, and they are not compulsory. You could just buy more men, but they help you if you find the platoon structure limits your points or you want to carry out a certain plan. Okay, the thing is about this as well is players aren't allowed to tell each other what's in their army before the game. Okay, so you're not meant to know what your opponent's got. You're not meant to know what mission you're playing before you do your scenario. So taking things like wire cutters might only help you in certain missions. So you've got to be kind of selective. A lot of people probably won't use those, but I think it'd still be good to add character. So if you know that's the sort of thing you'd want in a situation, I'd probably pay the points for it anyway. And if it's gone and you don't use it, it's gone. That's the way the game works, okay? But that's up to you. It's however you want to play the game, guys. So let's go with points required to play the game. So this document actually goes to say the core set contains about 120 points of allies and about 125 points of Axis. Okay, a medium walker is about 50 points, so that the medium walker isn't the one that comes in the core set. The core set comes with a light walker. Heavy walker is about 100 points, and a heavy walker is about the size of a Land Raider in 40k. Okay, it's got really big guns, it's really powerful, hard armour, and they're quite hard to beat. So the game doesn't have to be that expensive, and the game can scale from small skirmishes up to really, really massive battles. It's up to you what you want to go with, guys, okay? So, that is it for part 3, and that is building a platoon. So I'm going to go straight to conclusion because I've got a bit of time here. So, I think the thing about this game that I like is the background is stunning, really, really, really cool. You get more into it, the more that you look into it, the more that you get kind of addicted to the idea of the background. The rules are simple, there's a couple of flaws here and there, but I don't think they're anything that's going to make me stop wanting to play this game. It's very playable, and I think it's also a very good starting level for people who have been into board gaming rather than wargaming. Okay? It's got strategy in here, not just tactics, which is quite cool. The models themselves, there's a lot of flavour and character in the models, there's a lot you can do with them. The models come primed, built, but not painted, so you can do whatever you want with them. You can come up with colour schemes, you can use the ones they use, you can use historical references, there's so much you can do with it, and I love that. And there's something, it's alien, but it's also believable in a way, because you can root it into reality, and there's something I like about that. And using kind of real colour schemes, like I'm sure I'm going to start looking into Vermacht camouflage colours and things like that. just to paint my tanks up. And I think that's really fun, and I really like that. So, what else can I talk about quickly? I don't think there's very much. Yeah, so thanks for watching these videos, guys. Just very nice little set of videos to talk to you about this great set of rules. I will be playing some games with this as soon as I get some models through the post, but quite honestly, I've ordered some stuff from a couple of companies and they just haven't sent them out yet. So there we go. So cheers for watching, guys. Like if you like, comment if you want to, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to keep watching what goes on with my Dust Tactics hobby. Bye bye.